Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prachachanaranjana Yashodanandana Prachachanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prachajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prachajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Om Vishnupatra Mahamsa Pravichakadachaya Aspatara Sapta Histivanke Shishimadesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nittai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. Let's read first from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. See if I get He was executing his mission at an advanced age, and Lord Krishna was rewarding his attempt. Prabhupada, therefore, in a mood of reciprocating with Krishna, kept working to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. Knowing that Lord Krishna wanted the world flooded with love of God, Srila Prabhupada had earnestly tried to do it, beginning in a storefront in New York City. And Krishna had responded, sending him a few men and enough money to pay the rent. Then Srila Prabhupada had attempted to do more, and again Krishna had responded. Thus a second ISKCON center, and a third, and a fourth, and more had sprung up, and book printing had begun. Srila Prabhupada, in his mood of loving reciprocation with Krishna, just kept attempting more and more. It was no longer simply one person's work. Srila Prabhupada was entrusting the work to his disciples, and those disciples, if they were actually to help, would have to adopt Prabhupada's selfless dedication. As they tried to follow him in his expensive plans, however, their minds faltered. For a handful of devotees to maintain even one temple in one city was a big job, yet Prabhupada was doing this 100 times over. He wanted the movement he had started to continue for thousands of years, and he was confident that as long as his followers remained pure, working within the guidelines he had given, they would be successful. Although the present age of Kali was the worst of all ages, in which people had little or no interest in spiritual life, Prabhupada had faith in the past Acharya's predictions that Krishna consciousness was destined to enter a golden age of worldwide influence. True, it was the worst of times, yet by the influence of the holy name of Krishna, it would become the best of times. The chanting of the holy name was the religion of the age. The people of Kali Yuga would find deliverance simply in chanting Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada's activities show he was empowered by Krishna. This is evident from his childhood when at the age of 5 he held a Ratha Yatra festival, and it is certainly evident from these years 1968 to 1961 when he actively expanded his Krishna consciousness movement. Prabhupada compared ISKCON to the Varaha incarnation of Krishna, who at first had been no bigger than a thumb, but had quickly expanded to half the size of the universe. ISKCON's rapid growth was not simply due to rapid communications and modern travel, nor to its founder Acharya's material organizational abilities. Prabhupada judged materially, was not a likely person to conduct a worldwide movement, to travel vigorously, to write volumes of books, and to train thousands of disciples on every continent. He was satisfied with a simple, regulated life, and he disdained all such cultural items as music, fashion, sports, politics, art, food, anything not related to Krishna. He worked and traveled out of an intense desire to benefit the world with real culture, to implant spiritual culture in what to him was the desert of a materialistic society. Therefore, accepting that Prabhupada was not materialistically ambitious, he can understand his proclivity We can understand his proclivity for worldwide propaganda and dissemination of a spiritual movement as entirely transcendental. He was acting solely to carry out the desires of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada saw himself as a servant of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, whose message he was carrying. That message, which was also the message of Lord Krishna, had come down through the cyclic succession. We are all spiritual souls, eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. We have now fallen into forgetfulness and are suffering birth after birth in this material world. By chanting Hare Krishna, we can revive our lost relationship with God. With Prabhupada's first success in America, a few of his godbrothers in India had minimized his work. Bhaktivedanta Swami, they had said, happened to have a temperament suited to mixing with lower-class Western youth. The fact, however, as Prabhupada's own experience testified, was that the young people among whom he preached were not particularly receptive, nor had he arrived timely and welcomed, simply to discourse on Srimad Bhagavatam to throngs of submissive disciples. He had been successful because of his great patience, tolerance, and compassion. It was not therefore the advent of the jet plane, although Prabhupada gladly took advantage of it, nor was it happenstance, nor luck, nor even a social or historical phenomenon that enabled Srila Prabhupada to spread Vedic culture from east to west and back again. No, it was the will of Krishna and the sincerity of his servant. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 17, entitled The Descent of the River Ganges, Text 3. So it's not a meter, so I'm just going to read the words and then we can do the word by word together and read the translation. Tata sapta rishayas tat prabhava pikyayam nanu tapasa atyantiki siddhir etavati bhagavati savatmani vasudeva nuparata bhakti yoga labhenai vopekshitanyartatma gatayo muktim ivagatam mumukshava iva sabahu manam atyapi jata jutai utvahanti. So word by word, please repeat. Tata, thereafter. Saptarishaya, the 7 great sages, beginning with Marichi. Tat Prabhava Apikyaha, who knew very well the influence of the Ganges river. Yam is Ganges water. Nanu, indeed, tapassaha, of our austerities. Adyantiki, the ultimate. Siddhi, perfection. Etavati, this much. Bhagavati, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sava Atmani, in the all-pervading. Vasudeva, Krishna. Anuparata, continuous. Bhakti Yoga, of the mystic process of devotional service. Labhena, simply by achieving this platform. Eva, certainly upekshita, neglected. Anya, other, artha atmagataya, all other means of perfection, namely religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Muktim, liberation from material bondage. Eva, like. Agatam, obtained. Mumukshava, persons desiring liberation. Eva, like. Sabahumanam, with great honor. Atya api, even now. Jata jutai, with matted locks of hair. Utvahanti, they carry. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The 7 great sages, Marichi, Vashishta, Atri, and so on, reside on planets beneath Dhruvaloka, well aware of the influence of the water of the Ganges. To this day, they keep Ganges water on the tufts of their hair on their heads. They have concluded that this is the ultimate wealth, the perfection of all austerities, and the best means of prosecuting transcendental life. Having obtained uninterrupted devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they neglect all other beneficial processes like religion, economic development, sense gratification, and even merging into the Supreme. Just as Jnanis think that merging into the existence of the Lord is the highest truth, these 7 exalted personalities accept devotional service as the perfection of life. Report. Transcendentalists are divided into 2 primary groups, the Nirvisheshavadis or impersonalists and the Bhaktas or devotees. The impersonalists do not accept spiritual varieties of life. They want to merge into the existence of the Supreme Lord in his Brahma feature, the Brahma Jyoti. The devotees, however, desire to take part in the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. In the upper planetary system, the topmost planet is Dhruvaloka, and beneath Dhruvaloka are the 7 planets occupied by the 7 great sages, beginning with Marichi, Vashishta, and Atri. All these sages regard devotional service as the highest perfection of life. Therefore, they all carry the holy water of the Ganges on their heads. This verse proves that for one who has achieved the platform of pure devotional service, nothing else is important, even so-called liberation, kaivalya. Srila Sridhar Swami states that only by achieving pure devotional service of the Lord can one give up all other engagements as insignificant. Prabodhananda Saraswati confirms this statement as follows. Kaivalyam narakayate dashapu akasha pushpayate durtan tendriya kala sapapatili proktadam damstrayate vishvam purna sukhayate vidi mahendra dischakitayate yat karunya kataksha vaibhavavatam tam gauram eva stuma. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has perfectly enunciated and broadcast the process of bhakti yoga. Consequently, for one who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the highest perfection of the Mayavadis, Kaivalya, or becoming one with the Supreme, is considered hellish, to say nothing of the Kami's aspiration to be promoted to the heavenly planets. Devotees consider such goals to be worthless phantasmagoria. There are also yogis who try to control their senses, but they can never succeed without coming to the stage of devotional service. The senses are compared to poisonous snakes, but when the senses of a bhakta engaged in the service of the Lord are like snakes with their poisonous fangs removed. The yogi tries to suppress his senses, but even great mystics like Vishwamitra fail in the attempt. Vishwamitra was conquered by his senses when he was captivated by Menaka during his meditation. She later gave birth to Shakuntala. The wisest person in the world, therefore, are the bhakti yogis, as Lord Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita. Yoginam abhisavesham matgattenantaratmana Shadavan Vachates Yomam Same Yuktatamo Mataha. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. Translation again. The seven great sages Marichi, Vashishta, Atri, and so on reside on the planets beneath Loka, well aware of the influence of the water of the Ganges. To this day, they keep Ganges water on the tufts of their hair on their heads. They have concluded that this is the ultimate wealth, the perfection of all austerities, and the best means of prosecuting transcendental life. Having obtained uninterrupted devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they neglect all other beneficial processes like religion, economic development, sense gratification, and even merging into the Supreme. Just as Jnanis think that merging into the existence of the Lord is the highest truth, these seven exalted personalities accept devotional service as the perfection of life. Omakyana Timirandasya Gananchala Chalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vatadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. It's a wonderful verse, wonderful purport, so many points we could speak about. And I'm utterly unprepared because my whole week got turned upside down, but nevertheless, we will try our best. With your blessings, I try to say something relevant to all of us. So first of all, we are now hearing, that's the beginning of how the river Ganges descends. And I'm glad I have this verse where it's talking about pure devotional service, because that's easier to talk about because than the glories of the Ganga, because I have no idea about the glories of the Ganga, nor have I experienced it directly. Yeah, even though I was bathing in the Ganga, I may not be pure enough to actually realize the glories of Ganga. So I'm glad I can talk about devotional service, because at least theoretically, we know a little bit about that. So we hear that the seven great sages they keep Ganga water on their head, and they don't need anything else. They're fully satisfied because they have attained pure devotional service. Right? So just in the previous verse, it's been and it has been talked. Shukadev Goswami is talking about Dhruva Maharaj. How I just read the verse because it's a nice start. The verse goes: Dhruva Maharaj, the famous son of Maharaj Uttanapad, is known as the most exalted devotee of the Supreme Lord because of his firm determination in executing devotional service. Knowing that the sacred Ganges water washes the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, Dhruva Maharaj, situated on his own planet, to this very day accepts the water on his head with great devotion, because he constantly thinks of Krishna very devoutly within the core of his heart. He is overcome with ecstatic anxiety, tears flowing from his half-opened eyes, and eruptions appear on his entire body. Well, so that's symptoms. What happens when we actually attain pure devotional service? Since they're missing, we can conclude, well, we are not situated in pure devotional service. And Dhruva Maharaj didn't start as a pure devotee, right? He was, we know the history. He tried to go on his mother's lap and got his father's lap, sorry, and got chastised by his stepmother. That he has to take birth from her womb to be eligible to sit on his father's lap. So and she chased him away. So he was very upset and was approaching his mother, and Suruchi, the stepmother, was saying also he has to pray to the Lord to attain the benediction to take birth from her womb. So Suniti, Dhruva Maharaj's mother, was actually then confirming, yes, we have to worship the Supreme Lord. And Dhruva was very determined to find him and, take revenge, so to speak, that he gets the kingdom greater of that of his grandfather, which is Lord Brahma, which is quite impossible. So he had very great aspirations, very great motivations to when he started his devotional service. So it was materially motivated, without doubt. But and even Narada Muni was astonished to see a 5-year-old boy with such a determination to engage in devotional service. And he thought, well, it's not unmotivated, but the spiritual master knows how to bring the disciple and how to engage the motives of the disciple in such a way that those motives, the desires, become purified through the practice of devotional service. So Narada Muni gave Dhruva Maharaj a process to follow, and which Dhruva Maharaj followed very strictly. And through the execution of his very severe austerities in devotional service, he actually got a darshan of the Lord. And by that time, he was so purified that, the Lord fulfilled his original desire, but he actually didn't want it anymore. He just considered it like broken glass. So, and we can see in our own life that we also have not, our motivations are also not pure. We have so many desires, so many motivations why we engage in devotional service. And Krishna in Bhagavad Gita states that there are four kinds of persons coming to him. And the first one is the distressed, like Dhruva Maharaj. He was certainly in distress because of his situation. He didn't really desire wealth, even though he wanted this big kingdom. He came to devotional service because of distress, desire of knowledge, and the inquisitive. That's the 4 people who come to Krishna, who look for him. But that's only the original motivation. And then while we approach the Supreme Lord Krishna, and hopefully continue approaching him, our desires get purified. What happens if we are in distress and approach the Lord, and the distress is gone very easily, we're not thinking of the Lord anymore. So that's why we need expert guidance as well in approaching the Lord, like Dhruva Maharaj found in Narada Muni. So the propensities and desires we have to engage in devotional service become purified. Our devotional service is directed in the right direction, so our desires become purified. Because if you're not, if you just want to get rid of distress, for example, and the distress is gone, we go. We're not interested in the Lord anymore. We turn again away from the Lord because the stress is gone. Or same with knowledge. There's so much philosophy and knowledge and verses we can learn. Maybe that's enough for us. If our motivation gets not purified, then okay, we turn away because now we know everything. So the false ego is again in the way. So those 4 kinds of persons who approach Krishna with their motivations, those motivations to the practice of devotional service should become purified, and we should get a taste and higher motivations to continue the devotional service, because the original motivation is very quickly actually fulfilled. Getting rid of distress, having some knowledge, maybe even wealth, and then as soon as we're wealthy again, we keep the money for ourselves, or the wealth for ourselves, instead of engaging it properly in the devotional service of the Lord. So the 7 great sages, they have attained pure, uninterrupted devotional service. So they have no motivation, like in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the second chapter, in the first canto, Savaipum Sham Parodamo Yato Bhakti Radokshate Ahaituki Apatihata yenatma suprasidati. So our devotional service has to be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. And here the seven great sages, they are at that stage where it's uninterrupted and they're completely satisfied in our devotional in their devotional service. Because they're continuously in union with the Supreme Lord in their relationship of service. Yeah. So, and we are far away from that stage because we have so many material desires, so many impurities within us, yeah, which is quite natural. But we can be confident that those impurities, those motivations, will slowly go away if we are determined. If it could be as determined as Dhruva Maharaj would be great, but if it can be determined to some extent, and simply stay in the process of devotional service, then we can, those motivations diminish. And once there's no motivation, then we're also happy and satisfied just with some Ganga water on our head. But now we're not. We're engaging in so many activities. I'm just listening to the book, The Prayers of Queen Kunti, as an audiobook while I'm driving the school bus, also towards, not with the kids on board, but towards the destination. Yeah. And what was astonished me, that really struck me, was just one thing Prabhupada wrote there, how we are engaging, as non-devotees, but even myself, we're engaging in so many material activities to earn our livelihood. For what? Just for a little food. That really struck me, the way Prabhupada writes it in this book. Just for a little food. Because really, what do we have? We have some shelter. We have something to eat, and money is gone. And we work so hard, 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, so much endeavor, for just a little food. But if we engage in devotional service, Srila Prabhupada writes there, people are envious because they see the devotees. Hey, what is this? You're not working, but you eat sumptuously, you have everything you need, but you're not working. So they become envious because they're working so hard for just a little food. So that struck me quite a little, quite a bit. Just and made me think about, well, where we should put our energy, right? Because we have to put the energy somewhere, but because we're, our relationship with Krishna is not so developed, we actually not trusting him so much that, well, he will provide everything and we do not have to fear. Like he says in the end, that's the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, Savanta ama parityaja, mamikam sharanam raja, ham tvam sava papibhyo makshayishami masuchaha. Just surrender unto me and don't worry. Just don't worry. Do not fear. But that's the conclusion, and and Krishna doesn't talk here. And this word surrender has kind of, two different meanings, or we understand different things. If someone has a gun in his hand and points it at you and says surrender, then that's a type of surrender, but it's a forced surrender, because the other person uses fear as the controlling power, and fear is a controlling power, but it's not as strong as love. So Krishna doesn't want that we fear him, because we have all a loving relationship with Krishna, but like Prabhupada says, if we in forgetfulness of Krishna, we forget this relationship, and this loving relationship which is there, and we simply have to reawaken that. And the whole process of sadhana bhakti is to remember Krishna and our relationship with him, and any relationship is based on service. Friends serve friends, husband serves wife, wife serves husband, Parents serve the children, and then later on, the children serve their parents. It's a reciprocation in service. Every relationship is based on service, and once we recover our relationship with Krishna, then 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 this pure love comes out again. We remember, and in that way, then we can surrender and trust Krishna. Right? So we have to hear all the glories about Krishna so we can remember. We have to engage in devotional service so we can actually have some tangible taste of our relationship with Krishna. And that all slowly awakens our true self, which is, at the moment, we're not surrendering to Krishna, we're surrendering to our false ego. We have to surrender to someone here, and all our, let's just move. All the activities, of many activities we perform are on the basis of the false ego, but we think it's us. It's like Krishna says in the, Bhagavad Gita in the beginning. Which one is that? Prakriti Kriyamanani in this verse, how the false ego is actually performing all the activities, but we think it's us. So we, at the moment, surrender unto the false ego. We don't even notice it. So the whole process of engaging in devotional service purifies the false ego. And then we can, stop ceding control of our activities to the false ego, but actually engage our senses in the service of the controller, the true controller of the senses, who is Krishna. That's where we should put our energies, and then we will be able to attain pure devotional service uninterrupted. That's what bhakti yoga is. And then pure devotional service is enough, because now we still have so many desires, or so many things we think we need to achieve within this world. I was contemplating a little bit about this. I think it's in the prayers of Queen Kunti somewhere as well. How Krishna's property of one who is materially exhausted, but might be elsewhere. But I think it's in Queen Kunti prays that, right? Anything going in turns into kitchery. I can't really know where it's coming from. What does it mean? Because we're all exhausted, right? Work is exhausting. We kind of often over it. We don't want to endeavor anymore. But das is in so many. When yesterday we went on Ratha Yatra in Kimio, and now it's all the Ratha Yatra Christmas parades, and people are standing there and they look so miserable. And we all have moments where we think, I had it. It's enough, right? And I had it going to work, sitting in the traffic. Is that what Queen Kunti means with material exhaustion? Because we're all exhausted. So where's Krishna? He's not in my pocket. He's not there, right? What does it mean? He becomes the property of the one who is materially exhausted. And material exhaustion, as I understand it, means that we actually don't see anything we want to achieve anymore in this material world. This material world has nothing to offer to us. We may struggle for money, but if we still have the hope, well, once I achieve some riches, once I achieve, once I have some money, we still have the hope that we finally will achieve some wealth, we get some wealth we can use. So all those hopes that, when we have a good position, that we get money, that, that all those hopes have to be actually smashed. That we realize there is nothing to achieve in this world. And the more our relationship with Krishna becomes manifest, the more we engage in devotional service, the more we also come to realize that, well, except Krishna, there is nothing else. And all those lower motivation, all those lower ambitions, right, for wealth, they will then diminish. And once they're all diminished, then we're materially exhausted. So we have to come to this understanding that there's nothing in this material world to achieve for me. And that's material exhaustion. Not that we're sick of working and we just want to wealth without working. That doesn't mean we are exhausted, even though it's very exhausting, but the hope has to die. And I think this is also a reason why I think it was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, for all those uh, welfare workers, that they're actually very violent to the living entities, because they maintain hope. They maintain the hope for the people that, well, there were better times ahead. There's some hope that, okay, it will be better. The situation within this material world will become better for you. We help you. So it's actually violence, because that hope has to die. So we become materially exhausted. So Krishna becomes our property, our only refuge. But as long as there's hope, this exhaustion will not come, and we cling. No matter how miserable our condition is, we cling to so many things in this material world. I only need to get this. I only need to get there. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai. Blessing again the people watching bored on the Christmas parade, waiting for entertainment, for the one thing which satisfies them, and it will not come except when Jagannath is there and gives his darshan to the people. So yes, we have to become materially exhausted, and then Krishna becomes our only shelter. And then Ganges water may be enough. But in Kali Yuga, the Yuga Dharma is chanting Hare Krishna. And just in connection with Mother Ganga, I remember in Radhanath Maharaj's book, when A Journey Home, he was also traveling. He hadn't met the devotees at that stage. He was sitting at the Ganga meditating. And then Mother Ganga was singing to him the Hare Krishna mantra. Mother Ganga was singing to him the Hare Krishna mantra. That's how he received it. That's how he received it, on his head, so to speak, in his ears. He was revealed the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. But when we think about that, is chanting the holy name really sufficient for us right now? Not really, right? There must be something else. There must be something more. We have so many other things which are maybe more important than just chanting Hare Krishna. And that's kind of an indication that, well, you're not at a stage of uninterrupted, pure devotional service. We have motives, and certainly it's interrupted our attempts in service. Yeah, but I can see that over time, so much purification is taking place, very subtle, as long as we stick in the process. Yeah? The influence of the false ego slowly diminishes as long as we stick in the process, and we realize how sometimes the material nature tries to get hold of us, tries to, the false ego sometimes getting strong just to keep us away from the devotional service. But devotional service, the material nature loses the grip on us if we are engaging in devotional service, and it's her service to keep us here, to test us what is really the most important to us. But the chanting of the holy name, that's how we revive ultimately our relationship with Krishna. All the studies of scripture are important, so we remember, oh, actually there's someone else in my life. This is, it's not about this material world and being all busy. There's Krishna, and he's the most amazing personality. And then all the scriptures, all the Vedas are meant for us to come to the point of service. Wow, he's great, I am small, let's serve him. And that's the, Vedaischa Savayama Eva Vidya. Of all the Vedas, I'm to be known. And everyone engaged in devotional service is considered to have studied all the Vedas scripture, because he lives the conclusion of the Vedas. And in this age, of course, service one of the main services is the chanting of the holy name. That's how Lord Chaitanya spread bhakti all over India and is still spreading it today. Wherever his holy name is chanted, Krishna's holy name is chanted, Lord Chaitanya is actually present. He's joining the Sankirtan. So if we are able to, our relationship with Krishna will be re-established through the chanting, especially japa. If we mindfully turn towards Krishna while we chant, we have quality time with Krishna. Because there's no difference between Krishna and his holy name, because Krishna is absolute. But so often we kind of neglectfully chant. Our mind goes all over, which is an indication that actually Krishna is not the most important thing. Or we just walk through the markets, shopping, driving car while chanting. So we're calling for Krishna to be present, but we turn away. We turn away from him while we chant. So then not so much will happen in our relationship. Because it's our problem. It's like inviting the spiritual master to our home and then go on the computer and do so many other things. So we're not associating. So similarly, when we chant inattentively, doing so many other things, well, it's kind of almost an offensive behavior, right? Because the root cause of all the offenses is inattentiveness in chanting. But when we mindfully turn towards him, longing to serve, oh Krishna, what I'm doing is just play things, I'm not actually serving. I have so many other desires, like Prahlad Maharaj, that gives a nice example how if we want anything in return for our service, we're actually not we're not servant, we are merchant. We want to make a business deal, right? So we can turn towards Krishna and say, I please Krishna, allow me to serve, remove all the obstacles. When we chant japa, we can have that longing in the heart that when will the day become that I finally be able to serve? And then Ganges water will be enough. The holy name, the Ganges water of the Kali Yuga, the Yuga Dham, the holy name of the Lord, it will be sufficient. We can just chant and engage in service. And help others, because that's Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada's mood, being compassionate, Patita Pavan, compassionate to all the fallen souls who are trapped here. We can help them also to hopefully regain their relationship with Krishna. And in that way we get to, while we chant, while we're engaging in the service, we have the chance in this lifetime to attain to the state of uninterrupted devotional service and taste what Dhruva Maharaj is tasting. You have the symptoms here in the previous verse. He's overcome with ecstatic anxieties, tears flow from his half-opened eyes, and eruptions appear on his entire body because he sees Krishna constantly. Krishna is constantly his companion. He's the property of the pure devotee, right? Of the one who is materially exhausted, who has no material ambitions anymore. Like the 7 great sages, they are completely satisfied, and anything else becomes tasteless. All the beneficial processes like religion, economic development, sense gratification, and merging into the supreme become unimportant, because all those processes are meant for us ultimately to reach to the stage they have achieved. To the stage of pure devotional service. And so anything else becomes distasteful, because it keeps us away from Krishna, from associating with Krishna. Not in a sentimental way, but in a very tangible, deep, ultimate reality. That's the ultimate reality, in a very deep way. And anything here, all those temporary flickering appearances become completely unimportant. So many other things in this verse, but like I said, my whole week got turned upside down, and I hope I could say something of relevance. And I'll stop here. Thank you so much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Are there any questions or comments, additions to my rambling? Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Go Premananda Hari.